Would you please welcome to the stage Jameson French?
I'm not going to push the bell right away because I want to have a hand raising. How many people have been at Prescott Park this summer? Hey, most people, okay. So before I start, a couple things. One, you probably all know that there's been a little bit of rattiness in the community about Prescott Park and the Arts Festival over the last few years, which is why I'm back at the table. So this was a very interesting challenge. I'm used to speaking to, you probably may have seen me up on the stage introducing the thousands of people in front of me, so it doesn't really bother me the speaking. But to try and tell you guys, particularly those of you who haven't lived in this community very long, the story of Prescott Park in 6 minutes and 40 seconds is an interesting exercise. And it actually turned out to be, for me, a very good exercise because I need to be able to do this to persuade political leaders and other things that Prescott Park as we know it today and the Arts Festival as we know it today might be worth keeping. So, let's see how this goes, and bear with me. I don't usually read because, but I've got a lot of facts here and I'm going to try and tell a story. So onward, here we go. Let's imagine the shocked expressions of a family who are enjoying this summer's concert series, perhaps Mary Chapin Carpenter or Michael Franti, in the beautiful riverside atmosphere of Prescott Park, and they were transported back to that same location some 100 years ago. Their grassy picnic spot would be replaced by a coal storage area, a wharf, and filled-in waterfront covered with 100 years of industrial residue. Where the family had crossed Marcy Street with its mature trees and lovingly restored historic houses and entered the park, we would see the infamous Gloucester House with its rent-by-the-hour rooms and legendary Madam Mary Baker, who supposedly had diamonds in both of her front teeth. The Shaw Warehouse, which now houses the Arts Festival's office, was the storage space for Cappy Stewart's antiques. He happened to also be a brothel owner. It was a very rough area and a great embarrassment to the more genteel citizens of Portsmouth, and it was also very unsafe. In fact, during 2 weeks in 1912, there were 4 bodies found along the river in that neighborhood, all crimes connected to those houses of ill repute. Now, nearby was the birthplace of Mary, Josie, and Charles Prescott, whose resources and vision created the waterfront park as we know it today. In that late 19th century, lifelong bachelor Charles moved to Erie, PA, and made a small fortune in the department store business. When he died at 79 in 1932, it was his unmarried schoolteacher sisters who had the vision to transform the underbelly of Portsmouth into a community showplace, recreation area, using their brother's money. However, Charles changed his will in the days before his death to leave the bulk of his money to his charities in Pennsylvania instead of to the sisters in Portsmouth. Along comes another key player in this very dramatic story, a young and ambitious New Hampshire lawyer named Charlie Dale, who saw a potential gold mine and took on the sisters' legal case against the doctor in Erie who'd influenced the finer will. It all ended well for Dale and for Portsmouth as the bulk of Charles's estate, including the 1/3 that Josie and Mary offered to pay him if they could break the will, came back to Portsmouth. The grand total was $3 million, a massive amount of money in the midst of the Great Depression. By 1939, the upper section of the park, our display gardens today, was cleared and dedicated to the sisters and Charles's dad. Ambitious plans for the rest of the park were put on hold during the war, but started up again in 1946 and continued full force until Josie died at 91 in 1949. After that, it was Charlie Dale, who was trustee of the estate, who kept the vision going. Real action started in the 50s when he had to turn the bequest over to the city. But it wasn't until 1964 that coal company was finally purchased and the trustees were able to complete the plans for a performance area at the upper end of the park as we know it today. In 1965, the Portsmouth Herald reported on plans to build an amphitheater, and I quote, which will seat 2,500 people on a sloping glass lawn facing a band shell like the one on the Esplanade in Boston, suitable for concerts, simple dramas, and other civic events, end quote. The Arts Festival had its earliest roots in the summer of 1974 with art classes for kids and a production of Peter and the Wolf, all paid for with the Prescott Sisters' dollars. Another headline from later that year, Prescott Park is for the people. The story reported that the festival would feature a free-of-charge cultural program with classes and instructions in the arts. A stage was built with lighting and a sound system installed. By the early 1980s, the finances of the Prescott Trust were diminished, and the trustees decided they had to stop direct subsidy of the Arts Festival. Local passion for the programming, plus the chorus of downtown business owners, gave rise to an independent nonprofit that we know today. It was a rocky start. It rained a lot. Donations were below expectations. But there was a second rebirth the summer of 83, with a new group of community activists joining the board, including Mayor Eileen Foley and your speaker. Financial viability remained a struggle. By the end of '85, there wasn't enough cash on hand or staff to get the musical up and running. So 5 of us went to a local bank, the Indian Head Bank, for those of you who've been around for a while, and we personally guaranteed a $10,000 loan for the festival to get it started that summer. The festival held its own for the next 2 decades, putting on some great shows and concerts and becoming increasingly beloved as a community cornerstone. And clearly, along with Theater by the Sea and Strawberry Bank Museum, it was the economic engine that powered Portsmouth's downtown revitalizations. However, most years it just broke even or often ran in the red. By 2007, when the current Arts Festival president, Ben Anderson, arrived, the festival was again bankrupt and carrying financial operating loans, and et cetera, et cetera. But over the last decade, Ben and his team have constructed a programming model that not only has expanded the festival's reach into the community, but also provided a more stable and diverse revenue model. In 2013, we raised $1 million from private donations to upgrade the facilities and replace aging equipment. Careful fiscal management combined with a financially viable programming model has allowed the festival to provide the kind of experience the Prescott Sisters envisioned so long ago, a place where the whole community can come together regardless of their personal resources in a safe and beautiful open park by the river. Today, the festival's been restored to its glorious early days, bringing in audiences from around the world, across the Northeast, for its Broadway musicals, Grammy Award-winning artists, emerging musicians, community showcase events, youth theater camps, food festivals, and movie nights. Josie and Mary Prescott were determined to transform the South End into a vibrant, safe, family-focused arts and recreation space. But we can thank the determination of the people of Portsmouth, the donors, the members, the political leaders, and the artists who've made the Sisters' dream a reality. It will continue as long as our community embraces the value of the performing arts and always remembers that they helped transform a wasteland into a glorious riverfront space and thriving and vibrant and lived in downtown. Thank you.